Hello, my name is Rebecca Miller and I'm a Principal Sustainability and Resilience Specialist with AECOM Sydney. I'm an IS accredited professional and have been working with the IS rating tool since its initial launch, both in a project capacity and also by contributing towards the development of several credits. The following presentation provides an overview of the new resilience category, which will feature in version 2 of the IS rating tool, due for release early next year. ISCA has engaged AECOM to develop a resilience category which includes an update to the IS version 1.2 climate change adaptation category and credits, and a new credit focused on the role infrastructure plays in contributing towards the resilience of a region, city, town or community. The category has been developed in two parts, resilience and climate change. As part of the development process, we have undertaken consultation with key industry experts and stakeholders at key points. We've done this to enable us to develop a category which promotes better sustainability outcomes and is realistic and achievable from a delivery perspective. This consultation with industry has also helped provide an understanding of current industry performance and provide insight into where they see work in these areas headed. To ensure the category is aligned with industry best practice, the outputs from the stakeholder feedback sessions have been used to directly inform the extensive research that underpins the development of these credits. The draft resilience category is now ready to be launched for review and comment by industry. Following completion of this consultation period, ISCA will review the industry feedback received and the category will be updated as required and released as part of version 2 of the IS rating tool. As mentioned, the new look resilience category will comprise two credits. The first, Res 1, focuses on the development of a resilience plan that considers the contribution the asset makes to the resilience of the city, town or community in which it's located. At its core, this credit considers interdependencies and in particular the effect the asset will have on the community or other assets if it were to fail. The second credit, Res 2, focuses on climate and natural hazards. For the majority of infrastructure projects in Australia and New Zealand, the most material resilience risks often relate to climate and natural hazards. Reflecting this, ISCA considered it important to have a credit dedicated specifically towards assessing and treating climate and natural hazards. So just to recap the current state of play. At present, version 1.2 of the IS rating tool has two credits related to climate change adaptation. CLI 1 rewards the assessment of climate change risks, and CLI 2 rewards the assessment and implementation of climate change adaptation measures. As part of the stakeholder engagement for this credit, we asked people what they considered to be the strengths and weaknesses of these existing credits. We also sought to understand the uptake of the credits on previous projects and learned that in general, the higher levels of both CLI 1 and CLI 2 have been poorly adopted. Specifically for CLI 1, those interviewed did not believe level 1 of the credit was consistent with standard, let alone good or best practice. The feedback advocated that in moving forward, projects should consider more than one climate change projection as part of the risk assessment process. For level 2, stakeholders felt that the credit was broadly consistent with good practice as it requires the identification of multiple climate risks, the consideration of indirect risks, and specifies the need to engage with a multidisciplinary team to identify the climate risks and issues. In general, those interviewed considered level 3 of CLI 1 to be costly and overly burdensome to implement. While the stakeholders considered the credit requirement outlined in version 1.2 of the IS rating tool to be deliverable in theory, the general consensus was that projects should not be required to undertake project-specific climate modelling, and the approach to engaging external stakeholders would significantly depend on the nature of the project and relevant project sensitivities. The stakeholders had fewer concerns with the requirements of CLI 2, the exception being the requirement to treat medium priority risks. Feedback indicated that even at the higher levels, so levels 2 and 3, it is inadvisable to have a requirement related to the treatment of medium priority risks as it is likely to encourage over-engineering and therefore potentially discourage broader sustainability approaches related to resource efficiency, material specification, etc. Also, as not all medium priority risks are equal, a requirement to address a proportion of these risks may encourage cherry-picking of the easier options, and not all medium risks will be material for the project. In terms of overarching comments, the standout feedback related to the fact that stakeholders didn't think it was appropriate to reward the risk assessment and development of adaptation options separately, and that the consideration of climate risk currently takes place too late in the process to be of material benefit. Recognition of the growing need to consider and address the resilience of our infrastructure beyond the impacts of climate change has underpinned the development of the resilience category and credit. ISCA recognised early on the merit of developing a credit that supports the role an asset plays in not only building its own resilience to shocks and stress events, but also in contributing to the resilience of the community it serves. There are a number of global programs supporting this drive for resilience to be considered as part of asset delivery. These include the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, and the Rockefeller Foundation's 100 Resilient Cities program. Locally, within the Australia and New Zealand region, Melbourne, Sydney, Christchurch and Wellington are members of the 100 Resilient Cities program and have been working to develop and implement city resilience strategies at a local scale. Based on this emerging centre of practice, we consulted with the Chief Resilience Officers from Wellington, Melbourne and Sydney to gain their thoughts on the draft credit. Feedback at this point has been broadly supportive of the approach outlined. In particular, the CROs were keen to stress the importance of engagement as a vital part of the process required from the outset. Similarly, understanding impacts within vulnerable and sensitive communities is critical, and developing approaches to reduce the impact of shocks and stresses on these members of the community is a central part of building resilience. ISCA is excited to present this new resilience category to the market and appreciates that at its core, it represents a transformational shift in the way we plan, build, operate and maintain our infrastructure assets. This concludes the introduction to the resilience category. To access the industry review process, please visit the ISCA website or click on the link in the comments section of this video. Thanks for listening.